Yo, what's going on, guys? Wanted to go ahead and get run defense out for you. Obviously, if you're playing Madden 20 and you're in any book in the game, you have to have run defense, especially if you're in a 4-3 book like we are here, because obviously we don't have 3-4 odd. Now, 4-3 books in general and the 4-3 formations are not the best run defenses. Like, they're decent, they'll shed, they'll do a good job in terms of that, but they're not the best run defense. So you kind of have to be in a 4-3 book that has 3-3-5 wide. Now, I use Kansas City's book because I can stop the run at a nickel 3-3-5. I can stop the run at a 3-3-5 wide. And then to a degree, I can stop the run at a dollar. So let's go ahead and talk about the main run defense. That's going to be 3-3-5 wide. And we're going to use a couple different plays, primarily the cover one contain, the two man under, and then also we will utilize cover two sink. So right off the bat, let's go ahead and show you the cover one contain. Right, this is going to be your primary run defense, and it doesn't really matter what they're running in terms of like how you stop the run. You just kind of got to know the general rule of thumb when doing it, right? So the first thing you got to worry about is going to be the stretch. Now, if you know a stretch is coming, you can use what I consider to be the Kiv defense, which is basically how to shoot the B gap. And you're going to pinch your whole team. You're going to crash your defensive line down. You're then going to stand on top of the defensive end like this. And if you know the stretch is going to the right, you'll be able to just kind of shoot in, tackle the running back in the backfield as so. Very easy, very simple thing to do. Now, the nuance with that is, say they're in a set like this, wing stack, where they get this player right here manned up on the tight end. If they do that, you need to move this guy out a little bit. So it would look like this. The reason you do that is so the offensive line doesn't react towards you, and it's just kind of simple, right? Because if they're blocking this guy, they're naturally going to be crashing a little bit to the left, which is also the gap that we're trying to shoot. So you're moving this guy out a little bit. It doesn't have to be crazy far. Just move him out, I'd say, past the inside tight end right here. And that's just going to make your job of shooting this gap a lot easier, right? So you see right here, boom. That's the dive. Everybody's crashed down, so the dive generally is going to be good, shed defense. And I'll show you how to, blow up the dive here in a second. But primarily, I want to talk about the stretch first. Just move this guy over, like I said. You could then put him there. You could also spy this left safety if you wanted to. You can adjust your coverage however you see fit, right? But if they're running a stretch, you'll be able to blow up the run as you see like that, right? Now, that time I didn't actually shoot the gap as well as I could have. But as you saw, the safety that we moved out is right there as well. So you see, here's me shooting the gap. Obviously, I take too hard of an angle. I kind of run into the blocker, but doesn't change anything because now he's there as well, right? Very good run defense for the stretch. This is a concept that Kiv used. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. Now, a smart player will catch on to you trying to shoot the gap this way, and they'll just run away from where your user is. So say they want to run the stretch, but we're over here shooting this right gap, they'll just flip the run and go back to the other side. Now, what you want to do in this scenario is you can obviously spy the other safety, and that'll do a good job, but you want to flow directly across, right? So you don't want to shoot straight down. You want to flow back to the left like this, basically just guaranteeing that they can't get more than a yard or two. So let's go to the instant replay, show that real quick. So you see the spy comes down. He's going to play great defense, so there's no cutback lane there. And then you're just playing to the outside, right? Because any of these guys that are blocking, if they shed, that's a tackle for a loss. So as long as you can get to the outside over here, you'll be able to make the tackle. So as you see what I do with my user, I don't, run down or like anywhere to where a guy could block me. If anything, I'm taking like a step or two backwards as I'm running to the sideline. So just something for you guys to note. Now, let's get into the other defense, which is going to be similar to what Drini did. So that's going to be the way to blow up the dives. And the thing that Drini did that was really good is 335 in general has the numbers advantage to both sides. So he set up his defense to where he would just blow up all the dives. So what you would do is what I do is I pinch my linebacker, shift my D line to the strong side of the field, and then you're going to take your user, which is this middle linebacker, and you're going to go ahead and stand in the other gap. So as you see right here, I'm also going to crash my defensive line up, and then if you wanted to, you could spy the safety as well. So here, if they run a dive, you're able to shoot in and basically just get that tackle, right? So like I messed it up a little bit right there. I was a little delayed. So let's go ahead, do it again. And go ahead, this time, run dive, shoot the gap, hit them in the backfield. Not really anything crazy to this, as you guys see. Like, it's just the hole's going to open up, and it's just up to you to hit it, right? So we can go ahead and do it again, shoot the gap, tackle the running back. The hole's going to be there every single time. And it doesn't matter if they run the dive to the left, to the right. As long as you are away from the side that you're shifting to. So if I shifted this to the left, I would stand in the right gap. But as you'll see, even with that right here, you're able to kind of just shoot in and hopefully not run past the running back, as you just saw. Very, very glitchy run defense. And this is something that really opens up the ability to use a book like this because you're able to shoot the gaps so well. As you see, the dive is just going to be completely dead. Now, you can say, well, what if they run the stretch, right? So obviously, the Kivs version stops the stretch really well. The Drini version stops the dive very well. So theoretically, if your opponent knew that, they could go ahead and set it up to where they run stretch against this look, dive against the other look, and they would be able to pick up a couple yards here and there. But this does a good job even against a stretch, right? So we're going to go ahead and run the stretch right here. As you'll see, you just kind of flow over, and as long as you have the speed advantage, which you'll have in most scenarios, you'll be able to get really good sheds this way as well. So we'll go ahead, stretch that direction. You're able to see you just flow over, nowhere to go. So I don't know. It's really good run defense if you know how to use it. Now, obviously, like I broke it down to between the two defenses. Like you can definitely tell which one's better against which, but they both do a good job against basically everything. So that's it in terms of that. Now let's go ahead and talk about the other defense that I really like to do. And I kind of mimic this after the Master Gamer defense. So I'm going to come out in cover 2 sink. If they are running the ball, doesn't really matter what it is, stretch, primarily, you want to pinch your whole team. This is cover 2 sink. You're going to blitz all your linebackers, crash defensive line down, QB contain. It'll look like this. Now, you can take this linebacker right here, stand in the gap like this, and now if they run the stretch to the right, you'll be able to blow the stretch up, as you see right there. Like, that's basically the same type of defense that you would get out of the Master Gamer defense, right? At a 3-4 odd. Very easy setup. Like, we're good to go, and it's, like I said, it's going to be extremely easy to do, right? You're hitting the running back in the backfield, but it does take a little bit of practice. Now, same type of scenario, right? So say they, catch on to this, they run the ball to the left. Well, if they run the ball to the left, you just flow over and make sure they can't get to the outside, and you're good. This is probably my favorite defense to use out of this 3-3-5 wide, just because it's so good. Now, you might think, well, you could probably dive this defense, right? So we're going to go ahead and set it up. If they wanted to run dive, nowhere to go.